Welcome, you who approach this time as a journey toward the horizon, the beginning of the next chapter, seeking all of the insights and opportunities the new day offers.
Welcome you who live out your values with passion. Welcome you who have a drive for transforming the world toward gratitude and healing. Welcome you who are ignited by purpose.
Welcome, you who ride the waves of life with serenity. You who show courage in the face of the depths of true emotion. You who create and change and flow with time.
Welcome you who are here to seek the center. You who wish to be grounded in community. You who call our attention to the present moment.
Welcome all from every direction, with all your gifts and your limits, with all that the past week and the past year have given you.
We find ourselves here on the threshold of a new day, some would say a new year, at a time when the past and the present are stirred together in the cauldron of what shall become.
Today, we remember our beloved dead. Today, we give thanks to the people and the forces that help us to reach this moment.
Today, we gather with the saints and the sinners and souls who have been, who are being, and will be this congregation as we open up a new path to the future.
So this story, I gotta hold on to my string. This story is by Patrice Karst, and it starts with two twins, Liza and Jeremy. And Liza and Jeremy were asleep in bed one calm, quiet night when suddenly it began to rain very hard. There was thunder and lightning, and it got so loud that it woke them up, and they ran out to the living room saying, "Mommy, Mommy!" They cried as they ran to her. "Don't worry, you two," she said. "It's just a storm making all that noise. Go back to bed." "But we want to stay close to you," said Jeremy. "We're scared." Their mom said, "You know that we're always together, no matter what." "But how can we be together when we're in bed and you're out here?" said Liza. Mom held something up right in front of them and said, "This is how." Rubbing their sleepy eyes, the twins came closer to try to see what it was. She said, "I was about your age when my mom told me about the invisible string." "I don't see a string," said Jeremy. Maybe he tried to pluck it. "You don't need to see the invisible string," said Mom. "People who love each other are always connected by one very special string made of love." You can't pluck a string made of love. "But if you can't see it, how do you know it's there?" asked Liza. "Even if you can't see it with your eyes," said Mom, "you can feel it with your heart and know that you're always connected to those you love. So when you're at school and you miss me, your love travels all the way down that string until I feel it tug on my heart. And when you tug it right back, we feel it in our hearts," said Jeremy. "Does Jasper the cat have an invisible string?" asked Liza. "He sure does," said Mom. "And best friends like me and Lucy? Best friends too." "How far can this string reach?" "Anywhere and everywhere," Mom said. "Would it reach me even if I were a submarine captain in the ocean?" asked Jeremy. "Yes," Mom said, "even there." "Or a mountain climber?" "Even there." "How about a ballerina in France?" "Even there." "A jungle explorer?" "Even there." Then Jeremy quietly asked, "Can my string reach all the way up to Uncle Brian in heaven?" "Yes," said Mom, "even there. The invisible string stays connected even when someone dies." "Does the string go away when you're mad at us?" asked Liza. "Never," said Mom. Love is stronger than anger, and as long as love is in your heart, that string will always be there. Even when you get older and you can't agree about things like what movie to see, or who gets to ride in the front seat, or when to go to bed. Wait, you two are supposed to be in bed, said Mom. And with that, they all laughed as Mom chased the twins back to their beds. Within a few moments, the twins were asleep, even though the storm was making all the same noises outside. And as they slept, they started to dream of the invisible strings that they have, and all the strings that their friends have, and their friends have, and their friends have, until everyone in the world was connected by an invisible string. And from deep inside, they could now clearly see that no one is ever alone. I wonder where you found yourself in that story. I wonder if you've ever felt that invisible string tugging at your heart. I wonder what helps you feel connected to the people that you love. In our story, the mom explains that the invisible string stays connected even after someone dies. Today, for All Souls Day, we are remembering the people and the pets that we still feel connected to, even though they've died. Later in our service, all of the adults will be helping to build an altar up here for all the people and the animals that we want to remember. A few of you were there this year at this year's ice cream social after our first day of church when a dragonfly flew over and landed on my shirt. I'm not a bug person, so I had a moment of panic as I sought to identify whether or not this was a bug that I should be afraid of. Luckily, the dragonfly lingered. So once I had the time to recover my composure, and I could simply enjoy the experience of this close encounter. One of you who was nearby shared that one of the meanings of a dragonfly landing on you is that someone who has died has come to visit you. It's not the sort of thing that quite fits into my personal theology, but it spoke to me that day. I knew immediately who it was who was visiting me. I've spoken before from this pulpit about one of the hardest losses in my life. It was when I was 22 that my dearest friend Katie was killed in a car accident. Her life and her death taught me so many things and pushed me to pursue my call to ministry. Of course, it would be Katie who would come to visit me on the first day of a new church year in this whimsical form and let me know that she was out there cheering me on. In that moment with the dragonfly, it really didn't matter what I believe about life or death or the afterlife, about whether or not souls stick around after death. What mattered was that that dragonfly reminded me to pay attention for a moment to someone who I had loved, who I love still. To remember that invisible string that still binds us together. There are all kinds of things that might remind us to pay attention, to remember someone we've lost. It might be visiting that place that brings up old memories, looking at photos or mementos, or something unexpected that catches you off guard because it interrupts your regularly scheduled day with a reminder. There are also more scheduled ways of paying attention. For many, the anniversaries of death are times to take a moment, to reminisce, to mark another year that has gone by. Anniversaries can also be times when grief sneaks up on us, even if we thought we were finished with that. I have a circle of good friends who gather every year on the anniversary of Katie's death to be with one another and share memories, to make sure she's not forgotten. This summer marked the 10th year since she had died, and I felt a distinct weightiness with that particular anniversary. As we gathered, Katie's partner pulled out some boxes of Katie's things that she had kept and began taking some of them out to create an altar. As she was smoothing out a sweatshirt, she picked off a hair. "This must have been Katie's," she said nonchalantly, noting its length and color. I felt my throat catch in that moment as I looked at the hair and tears came to my eyes. I hadn't cried about Katie's death in so many years, but somehow seeing that piece of her preserved those 10 years brought it all right back to the surface. In that moment, I was paying attention, not just to the memories and the love, but also to the sadness of the loss, the grief at a life taken too soon. It matters that we pay attention to loss, to grief, to memories, to love. It matters that we take the time to remember all of those who we have loved who have died. The importance of paying attention, of remembering our loved ones, is one of the reasons that so many cultures and faiths take time to do just that, particularly at this time of year, in late October and early November. The traditions are varied, but all speak to the universal human experiences of needing to find comfort and strength in the face of grief, and wanting to find a way to remember and to honor our loved ones who have died. Our modern celebration of All Souls' Day began as a pagan holiday called Samhain, which is celebrated from sunset on October 31st to sunset on November 1st. It began as a Celtic harvest festival, but was also the time when the barrier between this world and the world of the dead was a little bit thinner than usual. The ancient Celts celebrated Samhain by welcoming the spirits of their dead ancestors, setting places for them at their dinner tables, and sitting around until late in the night telling stories. Like many ancient pagan festivals, Samhain was adapted by the early Catholics into the holidays of All Saints' Day on November 1st and All Souls' Day on November 2nd. These were also times to remember and to pray for the dead, but with some new Catholic traditions thrown in. They needed 2 different days because they didn't believe that everyone went to the same place when they died. And so All Saints' Day was to remember those who were definitely for sure in heaven, and All Souls' Day is when everyone who had died was remembered. And in fact, it is a time that Catholics use to pray for people who haven't quite made it to heaven, in hopes that those prayers might help them get there a little faster. When the Protestants came along, they got rid of the idea that you could pray to help people get to heaven. And so instead they had this simple binary. You were either saved or not, either in heaven or in hell. And so they did away, in many cases, with All Souls' Day and just celebrated All Saints' Day. It was a choice that only honored the dead who are believed to be in heaven. Now, both our Unitarian and Universalist heritages make us UUs more inclined to the celebration of All Souls' Day, a celebration that we expand beyond the traditional Catholic definition to truly include all souls. We don't use that day to pray for our dead to get to heaven, but instead to remember and honor their lives and the ways in which we continue to carry them in our hearts, the ways in which that invisible string still tugs at us. Today, as we do each year, we will be marking All Souls' Day by building an altar together. We already started with our children. But before we do that, I want you to give you a chance to share, if you wish, with someone sitting near you. If you brought an object today to place on the altar, share who it is in memory of and one thing you loved about that person. If you didn't bring anything, pick someone who you are going to memorialize with a stone, a leaf, or a candle, and share one thing you loved about them. If you're listening online, I invite you to talk to anyone who might be in the room with you, or write down your memory if you are alone. We'll take just a couple of minutes. Then I'll ring the bell, you'll be quiet, and we'll hear a piece from our choir.